Okay, guys, I'm going to give you an assignment, and these are just the thoughts that are on my mind today. So I'm wondering, this far into our pandemic, what have we learned? Text me, and it can be anything from, I learned how to clean my oven, which I never did before, I did. Or it could be something profound. What have you learned this far in the pandemic? Okay? And for the next 2 or 3 minutes, even if I'm talking, you can text me. And the people in here are going to share, and I'll share with you what they share. Anybody in here got, have you learned anything? Kathy?
I never thought I'd work from home, especially because we work in a lab. I never thought I'd be able to figure it out, but I did.
That is true. Kathy says she never thought she'd be able to work from home, or that she would be able to figure it out. Yes, what those new skills are. So much, you know what? I predict that office space is going to be begging for people because they're going to find that you just don't need it. What else? What else have you learned?
I'm not in charge.
That's part of my sermon, but I knew you. Mary says she's learned she's not in charge. Yeah, that's good. Rena baked bread. Go, Rena. Yeah, awesome. Had you ever baked bread before? She could text me and let me know. What else have you guys learned? She had never baked bread before, and now she does. Wow, that's good. What else have you guys learned?
You can survive with a mask on.
You could survive with a mask on. Yep, you can. That was Rose. I've learned to be a little bit more content without all the peripheral. I've learned a lot. Of course, it's going to be in my sermon today too. Rose, what else?
I talked to my aunt that lives in Florida, and it's funny, she's probably in her late 70s now, maybe even, late 70s, but anyway, she was telling me, she said, I've learned to cook a little better. That was so funny, because I never knew she really couldn't cook.
Rose's aunt in Florida, who's in her late 70s, said she learned to cook a little better.
Staying home, you know.
Yeah, okay. What else have you guys learned? Keith, I would say you guys have learned to do virtual school.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. The learning curve is unimaginable.
We had a friend say last night he learned how to shop online.
Somebody learned how to shop online. Hey, Ernie learned how to grocery shop. Yeah, Ernie. Ernie's going to the store. That's great. Charlene, you keep him whipped in shape now. That's good. Yeah, Jeff does most of our grocery shopping, which I'm appreciative of. So much, learned so much, and I'm sure it's not over. If you think of something, please text it in. I'm going to step over and get my water. So we've learned a lot, and it's not over. It's not over. So we're in the middle of this pandemic. One of the greatest things that I would say we faced in our lifetime. There aren't many people left who've lived through the Depression, but if you are out there and lived through the Depression, you have done this before, so to speak, lived through very difficult times. So there are some things I've listed that are what we've learned. This is not exclusive or an end all. I'm sure there are other things we'll be able to add. But the book of James, Jesus' half-brother, wrote that. He wrote some really good things. He said in James 1:2, "Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds." Okay, learning to count it all joy is something I'm learning in the pandemic. One of the first things that we've learned is we're fragile. Life is fragile. At this point, I've lost count of how many cases there are around the world. I know that the United States has lost 150,000 people Ernie says he's learned that his neighbors are cooler than he ever knew before. That's awesome. That's awesome. So we feel confident. I mean, I feel confident that eventually there will be a vaccine, but we are not confident about when that's going to happen. But the words of the psalmist ring true. Psalm 103, 15, 16. The life of mortals is like grass. They flourish like a flower of the field. The wind, or COVID-19, I add, blows over it and it is gone, and its place remembers it no more. That's kind of a downer, David. But it's a lesson, because he goes on to say in Psalm 90, teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. So realizing our fragility and what a gift life is has been a lesson in this time. What a gift life is. There's another learning. This is a big one. We may see ourselves differently according to our skin or our place in society or our accent or where we live, but coronavirus sees us all the same. We are equal. There is coronavirus everywhere. We're part of the great human family, and we're all suffering. Now, I will say, for some reasons, there are communities that are being hit harder, but we're all at risk just by being a human in the middle of this pandemic. And as Mary said earlier, one of the things that we've learned is that we really don't have control. Oh, we love to be in control. We fancy ourselves captains of our own destiny and masters of our fate, but we can only control certain things. I mean, we can control some things remotely, which is kind of a new thing, to control your heat and your air remotely, or you can go on an app and move money in your bank account, and you can order scripts and prescriptions, and we like to think that we're in control, but it's an illusion. The bubble has been burst by COVID-19, revealing that we're really not in control of anything. I mean, the schools have opened and then closed and then opened and closed, and who knows what will happen. What day are you guys supposed to go back?
12.
12? We'll see. We'll see. Well, you know, we like to think that maybe our government or the medical community or somebody's got this under control. There's really no control. We're just mitigating circumstances. We use our disinfectant sprays and we try to lower the risk of being infected, and this is all good, and wear masks, but we really aren't in control. We just do our best to manage the situation. Gary and Connie said that they've learned that talking and keeping in touch with neighbors has been really important, and everything that's been said, and prayers being answered. Yes, we've learned that and learned from you, Gary and Connie. We also learned pain of isolation and exclusion, haven't we? We are created to be in relationship. Every fiber of our being our DNA is to be in relationship. I really miss hugging. I miss going to Starbucks and sitting down with somebody for a long time. I miss fellowship meals. I miss just hanging out and talking. I miss being with people. And with quarantine, because we've been to Florida, Jeff has to quarantine for 14 days before he can go back to the state job. And then they're rotating people out regularly because there's too many people in the office, and so everybody's facing these exclusionary things where we have to be alone, and it's really hard. I have thought more times than I can count as a result of this learning about isolation, about the lepers in the Bible. Do you remember? remember all the stories about lepers and in Jesus' day that forced to live on their own, forced to walk the streets, shouting unclean, unclean, because of the Levitical law and because they were so contagious? How alone and isolated they must have felt. My heart now has a sense of a little bit of what they feel. And I think about the woman who hemorrhaged for, I want to say, 12 years. She could not be touched. And there are people, we die if we don't have human touch. And that woman could not be touched until she touched the hem of Jesus' garment. Those Bible stories have come home to me in a new way. But I'm beginning to turn it to an upward swing now. I've learned the difference between fear and faith, or I'm learning, because the way we react to this crisis could be fear or faith. And on one day I might be fear, and on another day I might be faith. But, on the day that I'm perseverating or stuck on cleaning everything and cleaning my keyboard and my phone and just, oh God, is this one trip to the gas station going to be the one where I get it? Peeking around every corner, panicking a little. I want to learn to balance that with a reaction of faith. Because Jesus, our good shepherd, is the resurrection and the life. I follow Beth Moore on Twitter. And she posted something really cool today. I want to read it. The Lord is our keeper. The Lord is our healer. The Lord is our shelter. The Lord is our light. The Lord is our salvation. The Lord is our shepherd. The Lord is our refuge. The Lord is our peace. The Lord is our rock. Everything we need or ever will need him to be, he has always been. Thank you, Beth. I need to reply to that. Surely only Jesus is in control of this situation, and surely he can guide us through this storm. He calls us to trust and believe and have faith and not fear. And as we go through these trials, our faith matures. That's another good thing that happens because we grow up in the Lord as a result of these times. Trials are the needed catalyst to wake us up and get us going. This could be a time when America comes back to God. James writes, James again, and let steadfastness, maturity, have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. The way we grow, the way we mature, the way we come to be steadfast is trusting through times like this. And I know that you've answered this part too. One of the things that this has caused us to do is to pray more and to be humble. James, the servant of God, calls himself a servant and humble in his opening. He understood the challenges that life throws. He understood that day. He understood that he needed to be driven or fall on his knees to find relief. To find relief and to know that there's something that we can do. This is our superpower. We can pray for the authorities running our country and cities. We can pray for medical teams. We can pray for men, women, and children who've been affected. We can pray for people afraid to leave their homes, for those living in the really hot zones, for those at risk with other diseases. We can pray for those who are isolated and alone. We can pray that the Lord would protect and keep. We can pray that God's mercy would be shown to us and to our loved ones. We can pray for the Lord Jesus to return, that he might come back to take us to his new creation that he has prepared for us, with no tears, no death, no mourning, no crying, no pain. The new Jerusalem. We can pray. And so those vanities, those things that we've realized that aren't important, fall away in the scheme of things. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher in Ecclesiastes. all is vanity. So when we are tempted to lose perspective in the midst of this madness, our days filled with problems and issues and things that scare us, we can find clarity in a way I think that I've never had before about what's meaningful, about what's important. The NFL, not that important. You know, going to the movies, not that important. I don't know, maybe it is. Keith really misses the movies. But it's not essential for your survival, right? Fair enough, right? The blessing of clarity. God uses our trials to help us to think clearly. Talk about putting things in perspective. That's a gift. James says, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given him. You want wisdom? Ask. You want clarity? Ask. Trials will bring clarity too. Pain is inevitable, but misery is optional. I would like for you to say that with me. Pain is inevitable, but misery is optional. That is a sermon in and of itself. Pain is inevitable, misery is optional. We have a hope. Because you see, way before coronavirus, there's another virus. Widespread and much more lethal than COVID. One that has struck every man, woman, and child, and that ends in certain death. Our species, according to Jesus, lives in the grip of a pandemic called sin. What is your hope in the face of that virus? The story of the Bible is the story of a God who entered a world infected with this virus, and he lived among sick people, not wearing a chemical protective suit or a hazmat suit, but breathing the same air as we do, eating the same food as we do. He died in isolation, excluded from his people, seemingly far from his Father, on a cross. All that he might provide for us, this sick world, with an antidote to this virus, that he might heal us and give us eternal life. Hear his words. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die, and whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this? Do you believe this? What was it I said? Trials are inevitable. Pain is inevitable. Misery is optional. What do? Pray. Realize that we're all grieving to a certain extent. Oh my, we are grieving. Grieving the things that are nice, that we'd like to have back, but we're also grieving loss. Our seniors this year didn't get a prom, graduation, celebration. I saved a picture for 18 years to put up at the celebration for the orchestra extravaganza of Jacob standing in a toilet. I'm going to send it out to you guys because it's adorable. But every year at the orchestra extravaganza, they put up a baby picture of all the seniors, and we didn't get to do that, so Mom's grieving. I'll send it out to you so you can see it. And that's not, that's the things that my kids are experiencing is character developing. But there are people who've lost. And we're grieving. We've lost the normal daily routine, feeling of security, being able to come together. So allow yourself to grieve and be kind to yourself. Do self-care. Get off the internet for a while. Do some cleansing breaths. Working a puzzle has been so amazingly good. Call somebody on the phone. Be mindful of the moment. I had this great epiphany as I was sitting on the beach. Blue Sour Patch Kids are phenomenal. That's called being mindful and appreciating the little things. And then the kids got mad because I ate all the blue Sour Patch Kids. Just little things like that. A good book. It's not rocket science. Being mindful is appreciating the things that you've got right now. In the present moment. I want to teach you a prayer. And it's a prayer that I think will help as we go through these next days. And the words are this: God, you know right now things feel scary, but even now we know we're not alone. Watch over us and may we rest in peace and hope. I'll text this out to you. Bow your heads with me and let me pray this for us. A simple prayer. God, you know right now things feel scary, but even now